All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our video on the lateral leg. Okay, so over here we are looking at an image of the leg and we're looking at it from a lateral view. This is anterior over here with the toes pointing forward. This is posterior back here facing towards the heel. And we're going to cover the muscles of the lateral compartment of the leg. So let's start off with these bony landmarks. First and foremost, we have directly anterior to the proximal part of the tibia is the tibial tuberosity. Okay, and from previous videos, we know that the tibial tuberosity is the attachment site for a large group of muscles in the anterior thigh called the quadriceps. Okay, next we're going to look at this landmark right here. This landmark right here is an insertion site for the IT band, and this is called Gerdy's tubercle. Okay. Next, we're going to look at the fibula. All right, and the fibula is going to have right here on the proximal portion. I'm basically pointing out three main parts of this proximal portion. So over here at the very tip, of the fibula is the apex. That's the apex of the fibula. Okay. And then a drop down, pretty much this whole thing right here is the head of fibula. Okay. Then we're going to have right here the neck of fibula. And then we look over here and this is obviously the fibular shaft. Okay. And over here we have the tibial shaft. Okay. Now we're going to start looking at the bony landmarks that we have around the ankle and the foot, and these are going to serve as attachment sites for many of the muscles in the leg. So we look over here, and if you remember from the previous video on the anterior leg, this is going to be the lateral malleolus. Okay, the lateral malleolus. Then we look over here and we see that this bone right here, which makes direct articulation with both the fibula and the tibia to create the ankle joint, that is the talus. Okay. The next bone that is directly anterior to the talus and on the medial side of the foot is going to be your navicular bone. Navicular. Then we look over here and we're going to see that there's another bone right here that is articulating with the calcaneus and the talus on the lateral side of the foot. This is your cuboid bone. Then we look down here and we're going to see this is the fifth metatarsal, right? Because we're looking at the lateral side. This big bony bump right here, this is called the tuberosity of the fifth metatarsal. Okay. Then we look down here, and so this is a groove that is formed directly deep to the cuboid. Okay, and this is called the cuboid groove. Okay, as we're going to see later, the cuboid groove is going to provide passage for a tendon. Okay, that's going to come from this lateral leg. It's going to sweep under the cuboid groove to attach to a bunch of sites on the plantar aspect of the foot. Okay, then we look back here, and this is the famous calcaneus. Okay, the famous calcaneus. So these are all the bony landmarks you need to know for this section. Let's move on to the muscles. First muscle we're going to talk about is the fibularis brevis. The fibularis brevis is the deepest muscle in this lateral compartment of the leg. It's going to attach directly to the shaft of the fibula. Okay, and then from there, it's just going to run down and it's going to run posterior to this lateral malleolus and then insert itself onto this tuberosity of the fifth metatarsal. And that's going to look like this. Okay, so because of that, notice how this tendon is running posterior to the axis of rotation of the ankle joint. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to put a small circle where the axis of rotation for the ankle joint is. It's right here. Okay. So this foot can move. Let's see if I can get an arrow in here. This foot can move this way, right, into dorsiflexion, or it can move down this way into plantar flexion. And that rotation is happening around the ankle joint, and the axis of the ankle joint is roughly right around here, directly through the malleolus. And so this tendon is running posterior to that axis, which means when it pulls on this tuberosity of the fifth metatarsal, it's going to pull the foot this way, okay, towards plantar flexion, okay? So Fibularis brevis does plantar flexion, but in addition to that, and as you're going to see with all of these lateral leg muscles, it's also going to contribute to eversion of the foot because it's on the lateral side, okay? Eversion of the foot, or prevents excessive inversion of the foot, okay? So this is to prevent you from tearing the ligaments on either side, prevent you from spraining your ankle, okay? That's why it's good to develop these muscles. All right, next is Fibularis longus. Fibularis longus is going to lie superficial to the Fibularis brevis, and it's going to, right, so the real estate down here has been taken up by the brevis, so the longus is going to attach up here, okay? And obviously it's a longer muscle. So it's going to attach all the way up to the fibular head, then attach to the proximal 2/3 of the fibular shaft. And then from there, as I mentioned earlier, so just like the Fibularis brevis is going to go behind the lateral malleolus, and then it's going to sweep underneath the cuboid groove to attach to the plantar aspect of the foot. We can't see that from this view. That's why this arrow is curved, okay? It's attaching to the medial cuneiform bone and the base of the first metatarsal, okay? So what is that going to look like? That's going to look like this, okay? It's going to look like this. And it's going to do the same exact function that the Fibularis brevis does. Plantar flexion, eversion, and prevention of excessive inversion, okay? That's what this muscle is going to do. And that's it for the lateral leg. Lateral leg is 1, 2, 3. Very easy. All of these are innervated by the superficial fibular nerve, okay? Gross anatomy is one of the most difficult subjects in the world. Luckily, it doesn't have to be. Anatomy is one of those subjects that needs constant verbal and visual repetition in order to get good at. What better way to reinforce this information than with the scientifically validated method of drawing? Neuroscience has shown us that we retain information better when we physically draw it out. That is why the Gross Anatomy Study Strategy Workbook is designed to walk you through all the layers of the musculoskeletal system, allowing you to draw the muscles into place. This is excellent for reinforcing muscle attachments, bony landmarks, muscle names, and actions. This will save you tons of time from mind-numbing tactics such as repetitive flashcards or passively listening to boring lectures. With this strategy, you can actually begin to enjoy studying again and have a much better way to retrieve the information. Order a copy of the Gross Anatomy Study Strategy today at the link below so you can spend less time being stressed and more time being blessed.